Welcome to the March Home. I'm Brian Anderson and
Amy. And here today we have our crew, the clinicians from the Veterans Alternative.
we also got Hero on the stage with us today. This is a pretty cool thing.
Up close.
So the clinicians, not just clinicians, but you guys are everything at the Veterans Alternative for services that we do, right? Pretty much.
We're a part of it. Everyone's a part, but I'm Cassie, and I'm the retreat coordinator and also a clinician at the Veterans Alternative.
And you guys all know Allison. She's been here before, wearing this shirt, as a matter of fact. We have to throw the picture up. Who looks better in it, me or her?
Definitely me.
We'll do a vote on it one day. So
Welcome, ladies.
it's really cool to have you on the show this week. This is the first time we get to talk about some of the cool things that the Veterans Alternative does at the Team House. So let me first start with you, Kashi. What is the Team House?
Well, the Team House is a very comfortable, welcoming environment for our warriors. We do serve combat veterans and their significant others and spouses.
And when you say combat veterans, like that's anybody who served in a deployed environment, not just combat MOSs, right? It's
Correct.
we're pretty open with a lot of those things. And as a matter of fact, we've had a couple of guys that never even deployed, but they served in direct support of deployments, and those are some big needs as well. But it's all veered around that environment, the mission.
Yes.
Okay.
A lot of what we do is concerning the transition back. So hence, our population targeted toward combat and deployment.
Yep.
So a lot of our elements, our modalities are geared around that. Bringing them back, including the spouses, significant others
That's
in that
important.
process, very important, because our men and women, they come back and they're different than when they left. So to reintroduce the new warrior back into their family life and back into civilian life. That's what we do at the Team House.
And I kind of talk about that as perspective shifts. And you and I have talked a lot about that, Allison.
Yeah.
Can you kind of explain, well, I know what I mean by perspective shift, but it seems like you've kind of agreed with me on a lot of those topics. You're from the clinical view. And how do you see that as a dissenter? Like what's some of the dynamics that make that happen?
Well, speaking to where the perspective shift starts, our warriors are going out, they're having experiences that as civilians, we never experience, but it does shift their perspective. They come home, like you were saying, almost a different person in a sense. And so coming into the Team House, what we're working on doing is creating a different shift in their perspective. We hear a lot of times from our warriors that they're finding that it's hard to connect with other people, to find the right kind of treatment, to find the right kind of fit. And so our perspective is looking at a strengths-based perspective. It's looking at post-traumatic growth, bringing them into the Team House, enlisting that camaraderie that they're so used to having, when they're in the military, and then all the different modalities that we utilize just highlight that post-traumatic growth so that we can look at things from that perspective as opposed to something's wrong with me, looking at what's right with me and how can I work off of that.
One of the things that I've noticed since, Kashi, you came on last year, really about this time last year, one of the things that I've noticed is we've increased in some of the groups and things of that nature. It seems like you've helped bring in another element of communication among our warriors. Can you tell me some of the team dynamics? Because the team dynamics isn't just us as employees or just you as employees. Like, there's team dynamics.
Oh,
Yeah.
There's a huge dynamic, and I feel like we are on a mission of our own, so to speak, at the Veterans Alternative and within the Team House.
Yeah.
Because we have volunteers. Most of our volunteers are themselves combat veterans who have, for the most part, gone through our retreat program and continue to utilize our services. And some are even getting involved in leading their own little support groups.
And that's spouses as well, significant others too, right?
Yep. And spouses, we have a women's group that meets every other week. And then we also have a men's group for support that meets every other week. So
now, what kind of veterans are going to that? We already know that they're combat veterans, but there's generational gaps too.
All generations. We have everything from OIF, OAF. We have Vietnam veterans. We've even had World War II vets that come and just bring us, information. Of course, they're still looking at newspapers and things like that. But it's across the board. And what I find too is that it enhances our community because you have so many different age groups and different generations, different wars. But there is a strong common thread that runs through our environment and through our community at the Veterans Alternative, and that is a lot of it's based in our post-traumatic growth emphasis and on really just the basics of being a warrior. The camaraderie, that's old as time, tribe. We've always been drawn in or comforted by having people who understand us, who we feel supported by, and who kind of lift us up when we're unable to see our own potential. And that's what we do.
I was having a conversation last week with a couple of the guys from the Transitional Task Force. Look at Hero.
If I stop petting him, he starts moving his paws. So
he's always wanting to pull it in. He's been working the last couple of weeks, so it's like his relaxing time. He's a big part of the center. I love it when he's there because I see guys who might sit on a couch or something or their back's against the wall. And it's great when Patriot's there too because Patriot's another service dog, is actually Hero's sister. It's so cool to see the service dog involvement because not only do they tend to their warrior, but they also kind of help inside the community as a whole. I've seen Hero go up and sit right on someone's lap or bring them a toy.
Get them kind of pulled out of that zone that they're in and relax a little bit.
Yeah, it helps take down the walls.
Yeah.
Back to the team house, your original question about the team house environment, I just want to mention that too. I feel like it is an environment that you walk in and somewhat feels though you can put down your armor.
It's
And
welcoming.
that you can just kick off your boots and you take off your armor and sit down and just be a human being.
But people don't just, I know for me as a veteran, like going into a place that I don't know and it's just to hang out, like, like cliques in high school, you think about that. Like, how do you just go in to hang out in a place that
doesn't have people
that
you might feel you would fit in with?
Well, you just don't know. Like, I know as me, like, I wanted to be, I was kind of siloed. So what is it that you guys do to, because I know that when we were first talking about this, I wanted to attract people. I wanted people to come in. What are some of the things, activities that we have going on that helps with getting guys in the door for the first time? They can try this out or try this out. That way they're not an individual, but they're working already as a team and they're not isolated or singled out when they walk in the door.
Well, one of our favorite pieces that I see individuals enjoying is when we do integrative restoration or iRest. Yes, see, automatically excited.
iRest is... It's like floating on clouds. It's beautiful. That's beautiful. It's a good thing. Please tell us about iRest.
It's just a very relaxing practice where all you're required to do is essentially, get out some bolsters, some blankets, some pillows, lay down on the floor or the couch. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, some individuals will just sit in a chair. You can even stand and do the practice wherever your comfort level is. And you're led through basically a guided meditation. Comes from a very ancient yoga practice, de-hippified.
De-hippie.
Yes.
Just making sure we pronounce not HIPAA, hippie.
Thank you. Thank you.
You got to take the dirty hippie out of there and make it really good.
Yes,
That's what
make
we've
it a little
done.
bit more palatable for our military folks.
And just so you know, that actually happened at Walter Reed.
Correct.
Yes.
An amazing hospital. I'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later.
Yeah, but you go through a 10-step protocol and it just enables our warriors to come in, like you're saying, kind of put the armor down and just chill. And it also has deeper effects. 20 minutes of it equal to 2 hours of REM sleep, which is so needed with our veteran population. So that right there I see is the easiest and the best way for our warriors to get in the door, to just chill out, to be with their other brothers and sisters, and to finally relax.
Yeah.
That's one piece of the pie.
That's a great introduction, I think, to the center when they come in for that.
So, and we do that pretty regularly. We have iRest sessions going on a few times times a week, right?
Yeah, when we're doing our retreats, they're going on every single day with our
5
warriors.
days a week.
Our scheduled IRES are on Tuesday and Thursday after
Okay.
our gentle yoga sessions.
Yep.
Okay.
And then on the weeks when we're having our barbecue,
There's a few more days.
we do one at
Yep.
4 p.m. on Fridays. Yeah.
Okay. And now the IREST is something that anybody can go to. If they're a veteran, they've served in combat, or they're a significant other and spouse, they come together
Yep.
and try that. And that's a great introduction. And so that modality, like I always look at it as one of the greatest add-ons that we have to accelerated resolution therapy, the main modality that we use. Because I always look at the sleep component. From your perspective, because you're about to get trained in IRES soon, right?
Yes.
She's excited. Look at her. She's excited. Allison's already trained in integrative restoration, and both of you are ART clinicians.
Yes.
Both of you are trained in accelerated resolution therapy, but you've participated in IREST. You've seen it done at the center, and you're already providing ART for our warriors. You've been doing that for a long time. What do you see as IREST as a help or an aid to ART?
Oh, it's a beautiful way for people when they go into the ART session. There's a lot of heavy work done in the
Yeah.
ART sessions.
I've done a few.
Brian knows.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Tears are shed,
Yes.
but it's good. It's always good.
It always ends up good.
Yeah.
And it's that progression, into a more easeful state.
But you got to
that
do
we
the
take
work.
them
That's
to.
the big thing. Is
So
you
gotta
got to
get
do the
through
work.
You have
Yeah.
to be prepared for that.
And so when it comes to the IREST, what I feel like is the IREST is very complementary because we're already in the ART session. We're coming to a place of ease. We're coming to a sense of calm. Even when we're looking at what formerly was triggering,
Yep.
perhaps, or situations in our life that keep coming up and reminding us of a darker place that we don't want to be anymore.
Yep.
So we're bringing in that calm energy, and then when they go in to do the IREST, it almost solidifies that calm energy and really brings it into the body.
Deeper.
Yeah, into a deeper sense.
Yes.
You know how I kind of, for myself, there's so much work that happens in there, and then afterwards, I just need to process. And what better way to process than just a nice, deep, relaxing, guided meditation? Because
Great flow right after. Yeah.
before y'all were trained in ART, what'd you do? You just told people to go and meditate, or how did you do it? Like, I don't know. I've been on to so many therapists, and they're like, "Hey, meditate," and I'm like, "How do I meditate?" And then all of a sudden, IREST. Our great Janelle Norton from Trinity Yoga. Make sure you check out their spot, Trinity Yoga and Trinity Yoga of Hudson. She brought in IREST to our organization, and that IREST is, I got to tell you, as part of my preventive maintenance plan. It's an amazing practice. So you're doing that now. You're going to be going through the training soon. We talked a little about the retreats, and I think we'll talk about that more in the next segment. Some of the other things that we do have yoga classes. What kind of yoga classes do we do throughout the week?
Well, primarily we do gentle yoga.
Yep.
We're not looking to put people into headstands and wrap their legs behind their heads. That's typically that fear individuals have when they hear the word yoga.
So you don't,
Yeah.
if you're a veteran, you don't have to look like a goof troop right away.
Correct.
That's your practice if you want to grow into that.
Yes, but we're just really working on centering individuals, just getting them comfortable within their bodies, simple breathing exercises, simple gentle movements,
Yep.
and working with especially where they're at. Because we have a
Right.
lot of people with different levels, that they're working with.
Yep.
And our job is to just find out where they're at and meet them there.
And that gentle yoga is really great because it's just kind of teaching them to breathe, which helps in every aspect,
Absolutely.
of life. So
That's it.
Everything's about the breath work. It
Yeah.
really is. And now you take a special interest in some of the classes that you have, the yoga classes that you teach. What's something that you always want to get to the guys? And when I say guys, the folks that are in the class, what are some of the things you want to get to them?
My biggest inspirational approach with my yoga teaching is mindfulness.
Yep.
So it's always about detaching a little bit from events of the past, from imagery from the past, and also pulling yourself back and away from the anxiety about the future and just being in the moment.
That's awesome.
And so when we have our yoga class going on, there is a a natural feel of camaraderie. There's a natural feeling of support. We're all there on our mats together. We're all breathing in sync with each other to some degree.
Right.
So that in that moment, it feels really nice.
Yeah.
And so my objective really is just to help people to appreciate what that moment really is, and then hopefully maybe carry some of that energy into the following moments.
Right.
That's awesome. So listen, we got to cut for a break real quick. We're going to be right back, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the retreats, about the yoga practice, and how Kashi brings us into rhythm. And I can't wait to see you after these commercials. We'll see you shortly.
81% of consumers search online before even setting foot in a store. We help you create a strong foundation for your digital reputation. We help build your online presence to improve search engine rank and make sure your business information is correct across the web. You could do all of this on your own, but why would you spend more than 300 hours a year working on this? You have a business to run. Save time and put our software to work for you.
So welcome to the March Home. I'm really excited. I have Lainey, the founder and creator of Accelerated Resolution Therapy. And she was the first person to introduce it to me. My very first session of Accelerated Resolution Therapy was with Lainey at the University of South Florida back in, that was 2013. Do you remember that?
Yes, I remember your coming in.
It was pretty amazing. And so when I first went through that, first I want to find out, like, how did you develop Accelerated Resolution Therapy? How did this thought concept come in to you?
I've been a therapist for 30-some years, and there is another well-known therapy that uses eye movements called EMDR.
EMDR, yep.
It stands for eye movement desensitization reprocessing.
Are you trained in that as well?
I'm trained in that.
Yep.
And so what happened was, EMDR is free associative. It doesn't have quite the protocol that I put to it.
And Accelerated Resolution Therapy, one thing that I love about it, it doesn't matter who I go through,
Right.
there's a straight protocol and I know what the steps are.
Exactly.
And I've gone through ART with you, I've gone through with 5, 6 ART clinicians, and they stay to a protocol.
That's right. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Yep.
And I'm very directive. So I changed the protocol, and I went for supervision with EMDR, and the person said, the therapist said to me, you know, you're not doing EMDR, so either go back to doing it our way or call it something else. It took me about a month to say, you know, this stuff is really good. I think I'm going to try to teach some people what I'm doing.
Innovation begins right there. That's amazing.
Yeah,
So someone told you you're doing this therapy wrong.
wrong.
And that's what inspired you to start Accelerated Resolution Therapy and making that a training base.
Yes, because I liked what I was doing and I was getting these amazing results and I wanted to share it.
Just so you guys know, the audience, Accelerated Resolution Therapy is a therapy that saved my life, and I see it saving countless other warriors' lives. So even though EMDR might have said, hey, you're doing it wrong, I think we've been doing it actually right as we continue to grow and get more therapists trained on this.
Yes, I think this therapy goes beyond desensitizing, and I created a new word called positization, because we have figured out how to get rid of negative images from view in the brain, and the images are the problem. So we don't focus on cognitions and what you're thinking, we focus on the negative images, and then your thoughts and your cognitions change naturally to match the images. But you always have the real facts about what happened.
So it's almost like a perspective shift in the way that you're looking at things. What was that word again that you called it?
Positization is my word.
You got to get that on the Urban Dictionary with your definition of it. Positivization.
Positization and
Positization.
We don't just desensitize, we do that too.
Yep.
But we go on to give you a positive dream, if you will. You know it's not real, but you put in a positive dream, the way you wanted it to be. that part of the brain responds to the positive dream, and the symptoms go away from that. And the other part of the brain that has the facts still has the facts. You just don't see those negative images anymore.
You know, the first time I went through ART, it was because I was seeing a lot of things. I was seeing my buddy drive the car next to me. He was killed September 29th, 2010. I was seeing guys walk through the mall that have passed away. I was having images of bullets going through my head. And that was June 2013 when I met you. And I got to tell you, when I sat down, I've told you this. I was like, what is this hand waving? Because I'd never gone through this therapy before. And she has this hand waving in front of me. And I'm like, is this a witch doctor? Why am I feeling so good? What's going on? It's not you're not hypnotizing me.
Right.
But it's a really relaxing practice. Like even when I was going through some of the difficult times, like you were able to bring that back. Why is that? What happens?
The eye movements are connected, we've found by doing biofeedback, they're connected to a calming response in the brain.
Yeah.
And they make new connections. And it happens very quickly, because I remember when Brian came to me, he said, listen, I'm going to schedule 3 sessions with you. And so we need to do that. And I said, why don't you wait and see how you feel after this session?
Yeah.
And then when you were done, you said, I don't think I need any more.
You know, I'll tell you what happened. So I had so much relief, and like many of you guys out there, you know what we do. We get a little bit of relief, whether it's actual or just made up relief, and then we avoid any therapy afterwards. And I got so much relief from that one ART session because I had no more images,
Right.
that I didn't go through ART for another year.
Yeah.
But underlying, I still had other things that were going on that I started recognizing. And when I got back to a clinician and started going through it, wow, it was like I cleaned out the major wound, and now I was handling all these little baggage things that go along with it.
And I think there was something about your being able to go to water where you couldn't before, or something. Do you remember that?
I don't remember really everything that happened because it was so long ago. And you know, it's crazy. I still have issues that I face in life. Like many people, we have issues that we face in life. And I know that I work harder sometimes to keep that inner peace.
Yes.
You know, I do work harder than I think some people have to. But at the same time, there's been a complete perspective shift in how I approach the chaos that sometimes my world finds.
Yes. And the other good thing about this therapy we refer to as ART, the Accelerated Resolution Therapy, is that you don't have to recount your details out loud.
Yeah.
So all you have to do is think about your scene. And the second time you go through your scene, it's already different within that hour. And yeah.
It's amazing what you do. It really is. What's next? What is going on with Accelerated Resolution Therapy? How is more troops, because that's our audience, how's more troops going to get this therapy?
Well, we have people interested, especially the Chris Sullivan Foundation has gotten involved because Chris Sullivan, who is one of the original founders of Outback Steakhouse, I'll say.
And we're sitting inside his office right now for this showing.
It's awesome. Yeah, it's awesome. He wants to help the troops, and
Yep.
he has put money, I would say, $1 million into another study going head-to-head against CPT, which is cognitive processing therapy.
That's huge. Has that ever happened before?
No.
Never happened in the United States, and they're doing that at the University of Cincinnati.
It's never happened we've had studies at the University of South Florida with Dr. Kevin Kipp that turned out an average of 3 to 4 sessions to completely get rid of all PTSD.
Symptomology.
All the yes, the symptoms are gone after average of 3.5 to 4 sessions. It turned out really well years ago with that study. And we are evidence-based now by SAMHSA, which is the government.
Which is huge. It's growing, it's growing, it's growing. I always look at Accelerated Resolution Therapy as a practice. When a client, and I'm a client, when we get used to what the practice is, there's so much more that I've identified we can use it for.
Oh, yes.
Once you get used to the practice and you know how to interact with it, because this is my opinion of the therapist to the client.
Yes.
The client comes in and it's their mind doing the work, so they're in control, they're the operator.
Totally.
And the therapist is like the navigator,
The
kind of
guide.
guiding them through a practice to help them overcome some of the historical emotional connections that they have to their memories of whether it be combat or transition out of the military, because that's equally as hard.
Right, and in fact, we found with the studies that it works, and I already knew, but they found through the research that it does work on pain,
Yep.
because pain is a sensation. And so, yeah, people get big relief in a 1-hour session, as you did.
I thought it was amazing, and each time I've gone through ART, I've had days where hypervigilance just set in the beginning of the day, and my body is used to that practice of going into that, right?
Right.
So I don't want that to turn negative,
Right.
and I've had it stay with me for a few days, and I've called up one of the ART clinicians and say, hey, listen, I just need to get in there and bring the body down.
Right,
And that's what they do. They do a desensitization towards me, or I don't know what it is that they do, but they go through what's going on,
Yes.
the signs and symptoms that I'm
Yes.
facing, and they go through it and break it down, and afterwards it's almost like, I don't know, like you just took a shower and cleaned all of it off.
you're reset.
Yeah.
And so one of the metaphors I give for being reset with art is if you were to play tennis and you got a backhand, you wouldn't stay there because you don't know what's coming next. So we turn the alarm bells off in that part of the brain that's holding on to the hypervigilance. But we
And you
wanna
get
be-
back on the court and you're right
And you're
there ready
just
for
right
whatever
there.
serve.
But you want to be vigilant, not hypervigilant.
Yep.
So there's a misunderstanding with some people who think this hypervigilance is keeping me safe, but it isn't. It's the vigilance in the other part of the brain you want.
Yeah.
So you can be careful rather than shooting your foot off because you're nervous and hypervigilant. So that's an important point.
Did you ever think ART would be at this point? Did you ever imagine this, like back in the day when someone said, hey, you need to make your own?
Well, I'll tell you, I was asked, what is the first thing you thought of when a reporter first interviewed you about this therapy? And my real thought was, don't get hit by a car, because I wanted to pass it along so other people could do it
Yeah.
and get the amazing results that I've seen. So there's really nothing quite like this therapy.
And what are your hopes for the future?
To spread it among other therapists to give, what would be so great would, like, if the military would, every time somebody comes out of theater, give everybody one art session. I think we'd eradicate PTSD.
Yeah, that's a tough thing. I've been home from war for 7 years, and I practice having that preventive maintenance plan. Because there's something really difficult. I had one person describing this week, we filmed this 2 weeks ago, and over the weekend we had the ISART conference.
Right.
And I heard a couple of different presentations. I've always looked at the memories that evade me in the here and now, or the feelings, even the ones that are associated to hypervigilance,
Right.
that I'm more prone to kind of run into sometimes.
Yeah.
I look at those as deja vus. You know what I mean? Like the most influential parts of my life are the ones that come up again.
Right.
And those are the ones that I keep on recognizing, because you look at compounded incidences, compounded experiences with, that last over weeks' time.
Well, you see, the brain will match a negative image to
Yep.
what it sees. And so if we can get rid of the negative image, there's nothing to trigger you anymore. You just have the good image, and you still have the facts that don't hold any pain or emotions. So it's really ideal. And we only go as fast as the client wants to go. We don't start the therapy till the client says, you know what, I think I'm calm and I'm ready to begin.
And you have to be, as a client, I know this for myself, you have to be prepared to go in and do some work. And ready to kind of explore what it is going on within you.
Yes, but people who think back to the session often don't think it was very difficult, because
Yeah.
even the idea that it may have, the first time through the scene may have been difficult, but that's the last time you'll ever see it that way, and they forget and they think it was relatively easy therapy. And if it's one traumatic incident or even just a couple sometimes can be done in 1 hour, which is amazing. But think of it as a procedure, not a talk therapy. We take you through, we get rid of the sensations. With the REM eye movements, we think it's connected to rapid eye movement sleep, and it's a calming, so we calm you down, you see more scene, we calm it down. By the second time you see the scene, it's already changed in your mind.
It's absolutely amazing. It really is a great practice. And guys, I highly encourage you to check out Accelerated Resolution Therapy and find out how you can find a practitioner near you. Here's a couple of websites we have right over here on the screen. One's Lainey's website at, what's your website?
www.artworks, WORKS, now.com, or just acceleratedresolutiontherapy.com.
Beautiful. It's an awesome, awesome practice. The Veterans Alternative provides Accelerated Resolution Therapy. It's the foundation of what we built our organization on because it really does work.
And there is a TEDx talk on the website that you can click on, and then also your video is on the website.
I love being on other websites. Isn't it great? Guys, thank you so much for joining the March Home. Lainey, I thank you so much for being on the show with us.
Thanks for inviting me.
I really appreciate it.
Really great. Thank you.
Thank you for coming to Tampa too. Guys, we'll see you next week on the March Home.